All right, please sign in.
Five members present.
All right, Ryan, any changes to the agenda?
There is one change, amendment to remove item 4G, contract agreement for snow removal and ice control services for sidewalks and crossing guard areas, public services. Heard from the contractor that won the bid, and they, turns out they don't think they'll actually be able to fulfill the requirements at the price they bid. So that one's being pulled and might come back later, so.
Okay,
Move approval of the agenda as amended.
Second.
all right, please vote.
Five yes.
We'll also note for the record, the letter from EDCOM today raising issues with items 4I1 and 4I2, so we'll make sure that that letter's part of those items. Item 2 is Citizens Forum, which is the time for anyone in the audience who'd like to address the City Council on any item that's not part of public hearings. Item 6, new business, item 7, or in current litigation. Okay, Milton, yeah, if you'll join us up here, please.
Thank you very much. May I remove this?
Sure.
So, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. So this Friday will mark a very important, significant Nobel Prize award. It's the Nobel Peace Prize recipient for 2021 will be named in Oslo, Norway. I'm sure that Alfred Nobel, when he discovered, being a chemist, discovered the capacity for dynamite, he never imagined that starting in that year on, every year, initially 5 people, and now 7 people would, or it can be also in groups of up 3 individuals in each category would share over $1.1 million. $1.1 million. So I've had the good fortune in my travels to meet a vast number of those recipients. I met Ellen Johnson, who was from Africa, Barack Obama, panel on climate change, and Albert Gore, Wangi Maathai, who worked for Sustainable Developed Democracy, Jimmy Carter, who worked for a peaceful solution to strife, UN workers in Africa, Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders in Cambodia, International Committee to Ban Landmines in Indonesia, Rigoberto Menchú in Guatemala, the 14th Dalai Lama. Elie Wiesel, Oscar Arias Sanchez of Costa Rica. Mr. Wiesel spoke out in terms of the Holocaust. Bishop Tutu, Office of the High Commissioner for Refugees, Amnesty International. I cite those organizations because all of them were and are individuals just like you. They stood up, they spoke out when they saw something was wrong, and oftentimes it grew into larger proclamations, decisions, fights. You, in your own due diligence of late, stood tall in 2 particular situations. When we became aware that there was an organization that didn't espouse values that we work towards as a city, that we try to uphold, you were a bit pondering initially of what to do, but then the decision became quite clear. Not knowing what the outcome might be, not knowing what price you might have to pay, but you were willing to stand tall. And I laud you and thank you for that. When we became aware through recent conversations and recent political ponderances that we needed, the city would be well served by a diversity officer You pondered that. Under Jane Papadodge's guidance and Tom Haddon's wise counsel and decision, you hired an outstanding woman. You hired Audrey, who sits in the back. Audrey, please stand. I must admit that hiring her got me in trouble because when I was at the Chamber of Commerce diversity gathering that was held a month or so ago, and there was the table where Tom was seated, Jamie was seated, you were there, you were seated. If I don't cite you and you were there, it's not about your insignificance, it's about my pathetic memory. Ms. Hardman was there, and I was seated with my wife at a table. We were there to honor the man who founded and orchestrates the garden in my wife's church, St. Timothy's. Last year came up with 18 tons of food that was given away to hungry and needy. But what got me in trouble was I looked over at the table where they were seated, and I said, "Oh my God, they hired my woman." To which my wife's response was, "Milton, she's lived with me for 30 years, so few things surprise her, but some things do bewilder her." She said, "What do you mean by your woman?" And so I was saying they hired the woman that was my first choice, and thanks be to God, the ultimate choice of the city. I cite all this because you stood tall. You stood tall to try to hire someone to make a difference in our midst. You stood tall when there was someone that espoused philosophies about people that didn't correlate with what we try to do and be here in West Des Moines. So I'm here to laud and applaud you, most especially during this week when the Peace Prize winner will be nominated. All of you won prizes by your actions, your attitudes, and your due diligence of late. I laud each of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Milton.
We usually don't get praises during
Yeah,
Citizens
yeah.
Forum, that's where. So now I can say, does anyone else want to come up and follow that?
Yeah.
All right, seeing no one else, we'll move on to our mayor, council, city manager, and other entity updates. Council reports, Matt?
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items here. We had a Bravo board meeting I believe it was last Wednesday morning. And then shortly thereafter, Bravo announced their second round of grants for 2021, which the West Des Moines Historical Society was an awardee. So it's great to see that. Going forward, however, and all the awardees are aware of this, and the Bravo board has made it been pretty clear that going forward, the funding is going to be pretty limited. Bravo board had looked at how to best help some of these organizations, nonprofit organizations, get through the pandemic. And so in concert with their members of Bravo, but also state and federal funding, they were able to award much more than they normally would over the last year and a half. But on a go-forward basis, the dollars are still going to be limited. And so as a result of that, Sally Dix, I've been in touch with Tom Haddon, and Sally Dix is likely going to be coming to the council here to explain what is really an unfortunate situation in terms of just the amount of dollars that are going to be available for Bravo to turn around and provide to the nonprofit organizations in our community. So we'll look forward to hearing from Sally on that, but that was last week. Before that, we also had a MAC meeting, which Russ was also participating. And the primary discussion at that was the Central Iowa Code Consortium, of which we also had that presentation, if you recall, maybe a month ago on that topic. And during that call, there was a lot of conversation about everybody participating, and you're working to get people to participate, and it'd be great if everybody participated. And then Russ says, well, who may not be participating? And it was a great question, because the folks on the Code Consortium had said, well, there's one city that may not be, and that's Ankeny. And Russ asked, well, can you help us understand why? And they said, well, the explanation given on this MAC call was they have a lot going on up there and just don't seem to have the resources to participate. certainly when I heard that, I felt like, boy, we've got a lot going on here. I look at our Community Economic Development Department and see more permits being issued than potentially at any point in history in terms of valuations. I look at all the things that engineering is doing for roads and infrastructure in our community. And so I just want to say, I think it's great that we, as a city, are able to do all the things we're doing to keep everything going. Frankly, one of the busiest points in maybe history in terms of economic development, in terms of infrastructure that is being put in our city, and at the same time participate in these regional organizations to help collectively move the whole region forward. And I recognize that we may not actually, we'll see what the language is as part of the code consortium, but we're there standing ready to participate, I believe, if every other organization's there. So I just wanted to say that briefly. I see Catherine here. The West Des Moines Chambers event on Saturday was terrific. Obviously saw many of you out there. I'm sure you'll say something, but it was great because I was able to bring out my 3 kids. They participated in the bike ride, and I ended up running the whole thing trying to catch my kids. But it was great, from the food to the music and the kids' activities, and just seeing an opportunity for everybody in the community to come together on a beautiful afternoon. Just hats off, Catherine, to you and your team. It was a well-executed, great first-year annual event. And then, of course, yesterday, I know there's been a lot of communications out there, but to the Parks and Rec department and Shane and everybody else that made the grand opening yesterday possible, Mayor, your comments and others, really, again, a fantastic event, and was able to bring the family out there, and they were running around on the soccer field. And so just a fantastic thing for our community going forward, and a way to highlight all the quality of life things that are happening here. So thank you, Mayor.
Kevin?
Nothing this time, Your Honor.
Russ?
I've got nothing except for I did want to also congratulate Catherine Harrington and the West Des Moines Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Explore West Des Moines Committee, for a phenomenal Raccoon River Rally Part 1. Look forward to this event in years to come. And really, this Explore West Des Moines Committee is just phenomenal because, we're going to be exploring fun things for the community and things for people to do around West Des Moines. And I just think this was so badly needed. And Catherine, you hit the ground running. You took over during the pandemic, and I just am in awe of all of the unbelievable events that you are continuing to have in this community, and everything that you're doing for not only our businesses, but our residents as well. So my hat is off to you. I am just amazed at the job that you all are doing over at the Chamber. And then I would just echo what Councilman McKinney said in regards to the Recplex and the job that everybody has done here as well. I know our own Tom Haddon really worked extremely hard fundraising and working with Jerry Nugent and others to make sure that was a public-private partnership. We realized here in the city that our quality of life amenities are extremely important. They are game changers in where people want to live and work and play. They are huge for economic development and workforce development, and we're going to continue to do those. But we realize that the game change and that public-private partnerships where it's at, the taxpayer cannot continue to fund all these things. And just, I cannot thank our private partners enough for contributing what they contributed. And there were a lot of people, if you look through the brochure that day, that contributed either through their corporation or even personally. Jim and Patty County and the Ables, just unbelievably generous people, and just cannot thank them enough for what they've done for us. So
My only question is, people didn't think you should give me those big scissors when I was on the ice yesterday.
Yeah, it's kind of risky.
They were very nervous about that.
Yeah, I was a little nervous.
So I appreciated your confidence in me. A lot of people around me were very concerned. Greg?
Yeah, even with that carpet, it felt still a little slippery.
Yeah, it was
I
slippery.
was,
It was
I was
slippery.
very
My
wary.
age, that was not a good combination.
We were all concerned. What everybody else said about just this past weekend, what is just a phenomenal weekend for the city of West Des Moines for so many reasons, so many thank yous to go around. I actually wasn't planning on making any large comments at all, but what Councilman McKinney just said about about regional cooperation. I know that cities can sometimes be kind of exclusive per se and kind of focus on themselves. And of course, that's necessary to a certain extent, but I don't know, I just think about the history behind it and understanding that a metropolitan area is only as strong as its weakest link. And so if you really want to look back in history and just look up Youngstown, Ohio, and just find out what happened when the center of this metropolitan area went down, and it affected every single suburban area. And that's not the only Rust Belt town that we can find. But when we work together as a metropolitan area, it's going to pay huge dividends, not just for ourselves, but for all the communities around us. So when we're talking about partnering with other communities, it can be a really, really good idea to help make us all stronger. So thank you for mentioning that, Councilman McKinney. And no other comments, Your Honor.
Couldn't agree more, Greg.
Renee?
Yes, good evening, everyone. At the risk of echoing things, I'm going to also echo things because I was there and present and want to share my kudos with folks, too, that had a great impact on the weekend. I, too, Catherine, as you know, I'm liaison to the West Des Moines Chamber, and I want to congratulate you for your team. It was a team effort for the inaugural Raccoon River Rally. Was there at 11, probably left around 4. And it was just such a fun event to see so many people gathered in one spot to enjoy a variety of activities for all kinds of interest. And that really what made that event successful is that there was something for everybody and something for every family and something for almost every age. So thank you so much. I know you've heard a lot. Your team deserves major kudos for taking a vision and running with it, and it can only get bigger. I think I saw several news clips of this event being covered. So congratulations, my hat's off to you. I also enjoyed the Recplex opening. I want to thank Park and Recs and Sally and her team for all that was happening. When the first reception was over, folks started coming at 2 o'clock. I'm heading to my car. I come back because it literally was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people trying to come into the Recplex. So I want to thank Sally's folks for just standing out there, talking to all the families. We passed out water bottles to almost 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I think Sally sent me a note asking how many. I said, I've lost track after the 4th or 5th case. So lots of folks enjoying that. It's a game changer. So happy for Mid-American Energy being the primary donor of this facility. So lots to come there. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful opening. And thanks for your remarks, Mary. You did a great job. And it was a fantastic event. I want to also laud Althea Holcomb. She's in the back there. Althea, congratulations on a wonderful annual fundraiser that you had at Fleming's a Sunday or 2 ago. It was wonderful, well attended. I hope it was successful fundraising-wise. I know you and your small staff put all of that together with the help of the foundation. So I want to thank you so very, very much for all that you've done for that event. And it was fantastic. So you deserve to be lauded and applauded for what I considered a wonderful dinner benefiting the West Des Moines Human Services Department. I also attended the historic West Des Moines Master Plan Steering Committee, lots of words, but important committee. And they met last Thursday to discuss a project on 5th Street. There was lots of discussion. And it really is quite telling to see a committee of folks come together representing both citizens and businesses that can provide input and conversation around development. And so I'm a non-voting member on that, so I don't get to vote on that, but I do get to listen to the discussion. And citizen engagement is critical and important. And I think it is a prime example of how we have assembled a group of folks. Some of you are here in this room tonight, actually, that is a part of a citizen engagement process that is providing input and consultation into the direction of that area. So I was glad to participate in the meeting, glad to be there, and glad to see as much citizen engagement that took place in that meeting. And we're going to continue to meet and continue to hopefully have input from all different individuals as we move forward. And then lastly, there are meetings that you have that are not, has as much sizzle, but I want to thank Chief Scott for a meeting that took place about a week and a half or two ago when he took time to sit with a resident to go over a situation and to walk us through it step by step of the process. And sometimes we don't always agree with what we view and perceive as a desirable outcome, but it's about the process. And it's about being engaged in the process, and it's about listening in the process and being present. So I do want to thank Chief Scott for eagerness in helping to get this meeting set up and to listen and to engage and ultimately come up with ways in which we can be better on both sides. So thank you, Chief Scott, for not running away from the meeting and sending someone else that could handle the meeting. The buck stopped with you and you were there. So I want to applaud you and laud you for that as well. That concludes my remarks, Mr.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Jamie, anything, City Manager's office? Okay, the only other thing I would add was Matt and Russ and I got a chance to join Chief Scott and a lot of the folks at Police Department to swear in another new officer today. I am just really amazed by the quality of the officers that we're attracting to West Des Moines, and I appreciate Chief Scott's comments today, the fact that a number of elected officials come to as many of those as we can. I'm not sure that these officers in some of the other cities see the support that they have from the elected officials, but I reassured them that they have the support and appreciation of over 90% of our residents too. And so kudos, Chief, for all the great people that you're adding and just the great culture that's over at the police department. Item 4, consent agenda. Based on Mediacom's letter, we'll pull 4I, 1, and 2, but are there other items that anyone on the council wants to pull?
4N.
And
And 4C, 7, and 8.
With that,
okay,
if nobody else has anything to pull, I would just simply move the remainder of the consent agenda items.
Second.
all right, please vote.
Five yes.
Okay, items 4C, 7, and 8 are the renewal of a couple of come-and-go liquor licenses.
Yep. And Mayor, I know it's minor, but they are a client, and, I
Okay.
try to abstain on all this stuff, so for that reason, I'm
I'll
abstaining.
move those.
Second?
All right, please vote.
Four yes, one abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
Okay, and I didn't see, Kevin, did you have additional questions on 4N? I didn't see that in their letter.
I do have a question on 4N.
Okay, so why don't we take 4I, 1, and 2 first? Because I know Matt needs to abstain on those.
Okay.
I'll move those.
Okay, second.
All right, please vote.
Four yes, one abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
And 4N is a resolution to terminate the contract for the Digital Enterprise Conduit Deployment Segment 3, Phase 3. Kevin?
Yeah, my question is, and Brian, you might as well walk up. What is this going to do to the completion of this? Because if the completion date was March 31, 2022, and they haven't started it yet, and we're, I guess, recognizing the fact that they're not going to get it done by then, even by putting it out for rebid at a later date, one, what is that later date? And two, what then is your completion date for this?
Brian Hemesat, city engineer. As far as I'm just trying to choose my words carefully here. We're not going to, we've got other projects basically that are ahead of schedule that will meet those deadlines. Mm-hmm. So then we've got, this project was already behind. There was no, we're having problems with materials and that sort of thing. So we're going to, we'll rebid that once we get some things worked out with some of the things we're going to talk about later. Right.
Okay. So, but as far as the final, I mean, is this the last, going to be then the last piece of the puzzle to get the conduit completed in the city?
No.
Okay,
There's
so
others.
So the whole project is still on track to be completed when we thought it would?
Correct.
This piece maybe just
Correct.
gets,
There's
the
other.
puzzle gets moved around a little bit.
Right, there's other pieces
still get the
that
same
are ahead
picture.
of schedule that we're just kind of shifting this around. And to be frank, this contractor had a lot of issues throughout the project.
I'm familiar with some
Yeah,
of them.
and we're mutually agreeing to terminate. It's a win-win.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'll move that.
Sorry for all the stuttering.
That's fine.
Okay. So I heard Kevin make the motion. We get a second?
Second.
All right, please vote.
Four yes, one abstention due to potential conflict of interest.
Item 5, old business, 5A, Talons Reach, Parcel A and Parcel C, southeast corner of Mill Civic Parkway and South 91st Street. Amend the plan unit development to designate and regulate neighborhood commercial within development Parcel C, Fairway Stores, Inc. This is an ordinance for the second, third reading, final adoption. There are no changes from the first reading.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Five yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, and ordinances pertaining to plan unit development, district regulations, and guidelines.
Move approval of the second reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Five yes.
Move to waive the third reading, adopt in final form.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Five yes.
Okay, and again, I guess, Matt, I need you to do 5B because that involves my employer. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay, item 5B, Three Fountains Commercial, is amend the Three Fountains Commercial Plan Unit Development Ordinance to modify building setbacks and signage allowed within the PUD, shops at Three Fountains LC.
Move for consideration of the second reading.
Second.
Ryan? Do we have to read this?
We'll
Gotta
take
vote
the
on that.
vote, yep.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, please vote.
Move for approval of the second
Hang
reading.
on, I've got to read the
Oh,
vote
sorry.
first. Five yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019, and ordinances pertaining to plan unit development, district regulations, and guidelines.
All right, move for approval of the second reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sorry, second.
Any questions or comments? Okay, please vote.
Five yes.
Move to waive the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Five yes.
All right, thank you. 5C, Amendment to City Code Title IX zoning, modify regulations pertaining to penalties, fences, and canopies. City initiated this also as an ordinance for the second, third reading, final adoption. There are no changes from the first reading.
Move consideration of second reading.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Five yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2019 by amending Title IX zoning, Chapter 1, entitlements, process, and procedures, Chapter 10, performance standards, and Chapter 14, accessory structures.
Move approval of second reading.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Five yes.
Waive the reading of the third reading and adopt in final form.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Five yes.
All right, item 6, public hearings. Item 6A, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Jordan Ridge, northwest corner of Booneville Road and South Jordan Creek Parkway, amend comprehensive land use map to designate office, single-family, medium-density residential, and open space land uses, initiated by the Robert F. Etzel Living Trust and Jordan Ridge LLC. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
September 17th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
The Planning and Zoning Commission, by a vote of 6 yes, 1 was absent, adopted a resolution recommending approval of the comp plan amendment.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council on item 6A, and I'll first start with anybody physically present in the council chambers. All right, seeing no one, is there anyone on the phone that would like to address the council on item 6A? Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. It's a resolution to approve the comprehensive plan amendment, and we note it came through the Planning and Development Council Subcommittee at 2 separate meetings, one on June 7th and one on July 19th, with a unanimous recommendation.
Move approval of the comp plan amendment.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Mayor, I do have a question on this. I don't, as I was reading this, and Lynn, I don't know if you're the most appropriate person, but when this came before our Development and Planning Subcommittee, I don't recall conversation about the sewer capacity that's referenced within this document. And so I guess I got 2 questions, really, because for the benefit of the rest of the council here, when this came before Development and Planning, there were a lot of conversations about this area that's called the super block. And it's I don't know how many acres, but it's basically an area that's on the south side, it's Booneville Road. On the east side, it's Jordan Creek Parkway. On the north, it's, I think it's roughly Coach Light, and on the west, it's 88th Street. So it's a big area, and there's roughly 3,000 or 4,000 units you're looking at going in there. And part of the conversation we had was, we're going to do this uniformly throughout this whole super block area in terms of land use and zoning. And so I guess one of the questions I have here is, this document tells us, or the materials for tonight tell us that the sanitary sewer in this area may not have been sized correctly for this change. And so we're being asked to approve this condition upon the applicant recognizing that there's going to be increased costs because of the change. And part of what I'm getting at is, we had intended to approach this, I thought, uniformly. And so I'm curious, do the other folks within this bounded area have an appreciation for how this change could impact their ability to connect to this sewer that's improperly sized?
Lynn Tweet, Director of Development Services, and Brian Hemeseth can certainly hop in and correct anything I'm going to say. Of the 3 developers that we have in play, they are all aware that their request to kind of be upzoning, for the most part, is going to cause part of the problems that we have in this area. Jordan Ridge and what's being called as Village at Sugar Creek are the biggest changes that we're seeing to the properties. Most of that was low-density residential or business park, now going into really what will look like high density, but it comes across as a medium density level. The High Point development, they already had a combination of single, medium, and high density. They are doing some changes too that may result in some increased in capacities or increased demand, not as drastic as some of the others. So that's the piece that we're trying to work out, is who really is on the hook for some of these increases, given these guys really did not have that entitlement that some of them already had. So we're trying to figure out, how do we take that into consideration as we move forward and know what it is. It's not going to be an immediate problem. It's going to be something as it continues to develop out, that how we think it will, there very likely can be some problems. So we want them acknowledging it. We want it on the record, so that in the future, if we have to come back and say, you need to pay up X, that we have a way to go about it.
And I appreciate that, because that's kind of the premise of where I'm going. And I don't have a problem with where we're going. I think it's great with what's happening there. It's just, I don't want to have a situation where 6 months or 6 years down the road, somebody that has an interest in that area says, how come nobody ever told me that when you changed the land use for this corner, it impacted me negatively such that I'm going to have to pay more now to connect to this sewer? So you think that everybody in this area is aware?
I think everybody's aware. The only pieces that we haven't talked to is the 2 single-family property owners right along Booneville. We're going from a low density to a single family on them. It's not a huge increase for them.
Okay.
We intend to put in the PUD, because this one will have a planned unit development ordinance that'll follow it. Same thing will happen with Village at Sugar Creek. That's a planned unit development where we can more specifically spell that out. The High Point will probably be as conditions, and it'll include it in the resolution so that it's recorded against the properties, so that there's some of that awareness to it. But there's still some pieces that we have to work out, some details.
Okay. And I guess the second part of the question, hopefully the final question is, there's a lot of references to DMU in here. Do the changes on the north side of Booneville Road relative to the sanitary sewer impact their ability to function as they planned?
It is my understanding it does not.
Okay.
That the sewer was actually routed through DMU's property, but it does not affect what they can do. But Brian, I take your head or Jim Lung recall it.
Brian Hemmetsad, city engineer, there's some portions of that sewer that went through DMU that are on the docket to get changed or upsized as part of this. But, you know, that's something that, again, will be down the road. And to Lynn's points about the developers, if the developers are increasing their, their flows, then they're going to get, we're going to look at that and base that increase on that. And if they're not changing anything, there wouldn't be increases. There are some of the changes that we're making to the sanitary sewer that are due to the issues that happen in the field during construction, or some of the things are city issues that we need to handle.
Okay.
And then there's some things that are just plain increases of density that the developers will have to handle. So,
Brian, who's going to pay the bill for upsizing that sewer through DMU?
who's going to pay the bill for that one? That's one of them that we're going to spread out amongst the people that are increasing the flows.
Okay, so the city's not paying it.
There may be some portion based on what was analyzed in Veenstra's original work that he did versus what's out there. So
But if development's causing the sewer to be
Development's causing it,
upsized,
yeah.
then the developers should have to pay the whole
correct.
freight.
By all means, they will pay all the freight if they're the ones causing it all.
Okay, well, that's not what I was hearing you just about 30 seconds ago. So the
That-
city's not going to be
There is,
paying.
but there's another pipe, Kevin, on the other side that needs to be upgraded because of issues during construction. It got laid a little flatter than normal and
Okay, well-
that sort of thing.
If we got laid flatter than the contractor that put it in, that would fall under his bond, wouldn't it?
It
wasn't installed, right?
It's been in the ground for
Too long?
too long.
Okay. That's unfortunate. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so Brian, just to clarify, so DMU is, we don't know whether they're impacted by this or not?
Well, there'll be a pipe that needs to be upgraded, but it's on the far west end of the development, I believe. So it wouldn't impact them. I believe that sewer was built
Okay.
like in the city right of way, I believe, or just on the edge of their property.
Fair enough. Thank you, I appreciate
bet.
it. That's
You bet.
what I needed to know. Thank you.
All right, please vote on 6A.
Five yes.
Item 6B, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider West Des Moines / Cumming annexation moratorium and subdivision review agreement initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
September 3rd, 2021 in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now be the time for anyone in the audience that wants to address the council on item 6B. And again, we'll start with anybody that's physically present in the council chambers. Okay. Seeing no one, anyone on the phone that wants to address the council on item 6B? Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. There's no outstanding issues. This is a renewal of the existing annexation moratorium agreement with the potential boundaries with the city coming. I guess our current one lasts 10 years, which goes to October of '23, but the city of Cumming has asked us to renew the agreement early. So that's what we're doing here. But there's no changes to what the previous agreement was.
I would move approval, but I do have a question for.
Is there a second?
Clyde.
No second.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Clyde, I meant to call you ahead of the meeting just to ask this simple question, and maybe we don't know the answer tonight, but I'm just, when people do things like this ahead of time, I'm just kind of curious as to why they're wanting to do this 3 years ahead of time. It makes me a little bit leery.
I have never heard a specific reason from them. So the city manager received a request from them to renew the agreement. And so I processed it.
Yeah, and I know that we were advised that there's some land in Cumming that Hy-Vee's working on a potential big development on. I haven't talked to anybody. My guess is that's on land that's shown to be in Cumming, and if the city of Cummings,
It's already actually in the city.
so they've already annexed it, so it doesn't have anything to do
They've
with
been in
that
the city for a long time.
Okay.
City of Cumming?
Yeah,
Okay.
within their district? Okay.
so not because of that
Okay.
particular project.
I know they're planning some sewer projects with Norwalk. I don't know if that has any impact.
Yeah, you got to believe that they're going to make a big capital investment, and they want to make sure they know where their boundaries are.
Well, that's what I wonder, and I
Makes
almost just, I mean, I don't think getting the answer to this is going to matter materially, but, you know, I am very curious as to why they're trying to do this 3 years early.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you, and again, I guess I'm a little
I think it
puzzled
may
as to
have a
why they
little
didn't
bit,
give an explanation.
yeah, I'm speculating at this point. I think it may have to deal with terms of their mayor and council members.
Well, to me, it's less concerning when it's the same boundaries, because I think there's a lot of rhyme or reason to the boundaries that we picked. I think if we were changing boundaries, that would have generated a lot more questions, but I think because the boundaries are identical, I was less concerned about that.
So, okay, but the terms are, I mean, we're going to have 3 years left on the current one, and then another 10 years going to start, so 13 years from
No,
this
10
point.
years from today,
it'd be 10 years
10
from today.
years.
from when they adopt it.
Yeah.
So they.
It's still the maximum 10-year state law,
Yeah,
but you're
10
starting
years
now.
from the new adoption.
So they're shortening
We're
it by
shortening it by 3 years.
So,
I'd still like to know why.
Yeah, I'm a little curious too, but I mean, I hear what the mayor's saying, and I think it makes sense, the same boundaries, but I can't help but wonder.
The reason behind it,
There is a
otherwise they wouldn't
reason.
ask for it.
There
And
is
I
a
think,
reason for this.
One person.
I'd like to table it for 2 weeks and see if we can get an answer from them.
I'd agree.
Okay. We certainly can do that.
okay, so we'll need whoever made, I didn't catch the.
Us didn't, I
I
said,
Trimble made
take
that
back my motion.
Okay.
I'll take back the second.
All right, and actually,
I'm
Cumming,
gonna make a motion that we table this for 2 weeks and get an answer as to why they want this done now instead of,
yeah, and in fairness, maybe Tom knew, and he obviously is out of town.
Right.
So do you want to second that,
Yeah, I'll
Russ?
second it.
All right, and it's noted that Cumming's going to approve it on the 11th, so we will get it on our meeting on the 18th.
With an understanding that there's probably a good reason. We just want the information to hear about it, so it would be
Okay.
great to hear.
Let's vote on the motion to continue this for 2 weeks.
Five yes.
6C, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider conveyance of underground electric easement to Mid-American Energy, South 41st Street and Mills Civic Parkway. Hawk Beacon, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
September 25th, 2021 in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council on item 6C. And again, we'll start with anybody physically present in the council chambers. Okay, seeing no one, is there anyone on the phone that would like to address the council on item 6C? All right, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. It's a resolution to approve the conveyance.
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
Questions or comments?
So how many months away are we from getting that Hawk Beacon, by the way? You don't have to get up or anything. 6 months?
Should be before the end of the year.
Oh, great. So, cool.
4 months.
Perfect.
Okay, please vote.
Thank you.
Five yes.
6D, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Grand Avenue West Segment 4 sewer extension, initiated by the city of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
September 24th, 2021 in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the city council on item 6D. And again, we'll start with anyone physically present in the council chambers. Okay, seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing, or let me ask, is there anyone on the phone that wants to address the council on item 6D? Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. It's a resolution to approve the acquisition of agricultural property if needed.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, please vote.
Five yes.
6E, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Grand Avenue South Grand Prairie Parkway to South 115th Street, initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
September 24th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council on item 6E. And again, we'll start with anybody physically present here in the council chambers. Okay, seeing no one, I'll ask, is there anyone on the phone that would like to address the council on item 6E? Okay, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. We have two resolutions and a motion which we can take together, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Five yes.
6F, this is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Southeast County Line Road, Southeast Sorteria Avenue to Veterans Parkway, initiated by the City of West Des Moines. Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
September 24th, 2021, in the Des Moines Register.
Have you received any written comments?
None, Your Honor.
All right, now would be the time for anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council on item 6F. And again, we'll start with anybody physically present in the council chambers. All right, seeing no one, is there anyone on the phone that would like to address the council on item 6F? All right, hearing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Again, we have two resolutions and a motion which we can take together. There are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, questions or comments? All right, please vote.
Five yes.
All right, item 7, new business, 7A, Village at Jordan Creek Parkway, Plat 1, southwest corner of Jordan Creek Parkway and Ashworth Road. Approval of a final plat to create 3 lots for future development, 1 outlot, 1 street lot. Civil engineering consultants, this is a resolution to approve and release the final plat, and there are no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Second.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, a couple of quick questions. First off, again, since this is a final, obviously it's still at the beginnings of this process and whatnot, but I know there is a street scheduled to be going east-west, but that's not depicted on this map. I assume there's a good reason, but I'm just not sure what it might be, so.
Lynn Tweet, Director of Development Services. The east-west street that'll connect Jordan Creek Parkway to 76th Street will be a private road. Therefore, there's no right-of-way to be dedicated. It'll just be included within the private lots.
Oh, sure, because I remember it was going to be public or private, but we settled on private.
Settled on private.
All right. Would that be because of the width?
Yeah, it's the width and the setback off of it changes, so the right-of-way width is much reduced. Well, actually, there is no right-of-way width per se when you have a private road.
Sure. And then also, if you could help me with just a little language here, Lynn, that would be great. Under the first bullet point on the second page, council is approving and accepting the following: surety in lieu of public improvements associated with the construction of 76th Street extension, including all appurtenances associated with said improvements. Could you explain that a little bit more for me, because I'm just not as familiar?
Basically, storm sewers,
And that's it?
the infrastructure that comes with a street typically. So you'll put in the water, you put in the storm sewers, you put in the sanitary sewers kind of.
So it's just sewers, nothing else along the lines?
Brian
I assume so.
may have other ones, but yeah. It's
Sure.
just kind of a catch-all term to say you got to put in a full road.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
So the surety amount equals what we think the cost of the infrastructure would be.
Yes, they submit us a bid for what it would be what they would construct it for. Engineering takes a look at it and says, yeah, this is reasonable, and then we take a bid, or the surety for that amount.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, please vote on 7A.
Five yes.
7B, Southeast Adams Street Elevated Water Storage, 2184 Southeast Adams Street. Approval of a site plan to allow construction of a 190-foot-tall elevated water storage structure. West Des Moines Water Works, this is a resolution to approve the site plan, and it indicates there's no outstanding issues.
Move approval.
Is there a second? Questions or comments? All right, please vote.
5 yes.
Item 8, there are no items to receive, file, and/or refer. Item 9, other matters. Are there any other matters that anyone in the council would like to raise tonight? Okay, if not, we will adjourn the formal council meeting and have an executive session upstairs in the boardroom.